We often focus on the really big stories, the dramatic events, but sometimes it's the small, almost everyday moments that give you these surprising insights.
Definitely. Those little snapshots.
Yeah, exactly. I was reading this piece on an IT worker's blog, Monkey Paws, and it's about their student days working part-time in an off-license back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it starts off so ordinary, but then it just unfolds into something really, well, fascinating about people, human behavior,
Yeah.
the hidden stuff. You read it too. What jumped out at you?
Absolutely. I mean, what struck me was how this memory, this simple student job, just for like beer money, as they put it,
Right.
it really peels back the layers on a specific time, but also leads to this incredibly unexpected interaction.
Mm.
And the author, looking back now, they're in their 40s, gives us this perspective that's, well, it's nostalgic, but also surprisingly tense.
So our mission today, I suppose, is to really unpack this anecdote.
Exactly. Let's dive into it. Understand the encounter itself, why it clearly stuck with the author for so long.
Yeah, decades later.
And maybe what it tells us about, broader societal things or just how we interact.
Okay, let's do it. So the author starts off setting the scene. Student life, needing cash, the classic beer money goal, lands this job in an off-license.
Standard stuff for a student back then.
But there was this one specific policy, a 50-pound reward, tax-free, if you captured a stolen credit card that was flagged for retrieval.
Wow, 50 pounds.
In the early 90s. For a student, that must have been huge, right?
Oh, absolutely huge. You think about student finances then, 50 pounds was serious money. It's not like today.
No kidding.
And it creates a really clear incentive, doesn't it, for the staff to be switched on. Plus, it shows a pretty direct way of handling potential fraud at that local level.
And part of that was this Code 10 protocol. Simple idea. If something felt wrong, didn't seem right, you just phone it in. Call Code 10.
Just a quick call.
Yeah, most times the author says it was nothing. Quick confirmation, card's fine, move on. No drama.
Right. So the Code 10 itself was probably seen as pretty routine, sort of a low-key safety check. A way to flag a concern without, making a big scene usually.
Which makes this time.
Exactly. It makes the specific incident where it wasn't routine stand out so much more. It shows how those everyday systems can suddenly clash with something completely unexpected.
So the setup is there. Then the customer comes in, just one man, alone. Seems calm. He's browsing the port section.
Taking his time.
Yeah, the author even describes him as looking like a quiet connoisseur. Gives you an image.
Mm-hmm. Someone who knows their port.
But then he picks out a much cheaper bottle, like an off-brand one, £7.99 or something. And that's when the author gets that feeling.
Yeah.
The spider senses tingling.
The gut feeling.
What do you make of that? The fact that his choice of a cheaper item sparked the suspicion.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? It gets into how we build expectations. Maybe the initial browsing, looking like a connoisseur.
Right, set up one idea.
Created a certain picture, and then the cheaper bottle felt inconsistent, off somehow. Maybe it seemed like someone trying to look knowledgeable, but actually maybe operating with limited, perhaps ill-gotten funds.
Could be.
Or, like the author suggests, maybe it was just a pure gut feeling, something subtle in the behavior, a smoothness that felt rehearsed, perhaps. It shows how we pick up on tiny cues, sometimes without even knowing why.
So gut feeling wins out. The author calls in the Code 10.
Takes the step.
And this time, bang. Not a false alarm. The operator confirms.
Mm-hmm.
Card stolen, needs retrieving. Standard instruction follows. Cut the card up in front of the customer.
Okay, standard procedure, but still stressful.
But then the operator adds something extra, something that really ramps up the tension. They say, don't put yourself in any danger.
Whoa!
Yeah, if they get aggressive, just let them go. We can stop the card later. Safety first. That must have been quite a moment.
Oh, absolutely. That changes everything, doesn't it? What was a sort of process, a policy thing, suddenly becomes about personal risk, real potential danger. It's the company or the card issuer acknowledging the unpredictability of people's reactions and telling the employee, basically, your safety matters more than this piece of plastic right now.
Makes you think about those hidden calculations behind security rules.
Definitely.
And the author's reaction is so visceral. Legs like jelly, hands shaking.
You can picture it.
They even mention leaving the phone off the hook before going back out to face the customer. Just pure adrenaline and, well, fear.
It's such a human response, isn't it? The routine's gone, the potential for confrontation is suddenly very real, and that safety warning just underlines the unknown.
Yeah.
Leaving the phone off the hook, maybe wanting to just deal with it, get it over with, without that direct line back to the operator immediately. Hard to say.
But then
Yeah.
the twist,
Uh-huh.
the completely unexpected part,
Yeah.
the customer, the one with the stolen card.
Yeah. What does he do? Kick off.
No, he doesn't get angry, doesn't make a scene. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
He's calm, totally calm. He actually reassures the author, sees their hand shaking, steadies it, and says something like, "Don't worry, be calm and cut the card. You've done the right thing."
No way. That's astonishing.
Isn't it? The complete opposite of what you or the author would expect.
That's the absolute core of this story, I think. It just completely demolishes your assumptions about how someone caught doing something illegal might react.
Yeah.
That calmness, that almost gentle reassurance, it hints at something else. Experience, maybe, or
Yeah.
just resignation. It's a powerful reminder that people are complex, even in those situations.
And then he adds these comments. Says something about it being a risk of the job.
A risk of his job, presumably.
Right. And that the card had reached the end of life. And get this, that he had plenty more.
Wow. Okay, so he's basically confirming he's done this before.
Totally unfazed. It really paints a picture of this other world operating just below the surface of a normal Tuesday night at the offie.
It does. Those lines are so revealing. It suggests, a system, a network, maybe, where one card getting blocked is just a minor inconvenience, a bump in the road.
Just part of the process for him.
The matter-of-fact way he says it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you this glimpse into a reality that's very different from the author's or ours.
So the author manages it, cuts the card, one clean cut, they say.
Despite the shaking hands.
Right. And then the customer, before leaving, asks them, "Are you all right? You did good."
Yeah.
Then just leaves the port on the counter and walks out. Calmly.
Leaves the port.
Yeah. It's all just so weirdly civil, polite almost, in this incredibly strange context.
It is bizarre, and that's why it's so memorable, so thought-provoking, isn't it? The lack of aggression, the almost courteous exchange, it creates this real disconnect, cognitive dissonance.
Doesn't fit the script we have in our heads for criminal caught red-handed.
Not at all. And leaving the port behind, it underlines that the card, or maybe just getting caught with that card, was the main event. The 8-pound bottle wasn't the point.
So the author gets the 50-pound reward, shares it out with the other staff, but they don't feel triumphant. Not like, yes, I caught him.
No sense of victory.
No, more like relief mixed with this lingering tension, this feeling of having peeked behind a curtain, seen a glimpse of a different side of society with its own weird rules and risks. And the lasting memory isn't the reward, it's the man. His calmness, his resignation, almost his grace in a way. It even changed how the author sees port and scissors.
And that shows you, doesn't it, how a seemingly small event can burrow deep. That lingering feeling is crucial.
Yeah.
It really drives home the impact of unexpected human behavior. The author met someone breaking the law, but that person completely defied the stereotype of how they should have acted.
Right.
And that brief moment forced a rethink, a reassessment of assumptions about crime, about the people involved, and the fact that everyday things, port, scissors, get tangled up in that memory, just shows how profound the impression was.
So the real takeaway here seems to be that unexpected human element, right?
I think so.
What could have been, and maybe should have been by some scripts, a nasty confrontational moment
Potentially dangerous, even.
turns into this very strange, almost courteous interaction. It really makes you question the assumptions we don't even know we're making about people.
Exactly. And if we bring it back to, the listener, this little story from a personal blog, it's such a powerful example of how unpredictable everyday life can be. Even in situations that seem clear-cut, the people involved can surprise you. Their reactions can throw you completely, makes you wonder about all the unseen interactions happening constantly.
It really does make you think. Like, what assumptions am I carrying around about people in certain roles or certain situations, and how often might reality actually challenge those assumptions if I paid attention?
That's a great question to ask.
It shows how even these really brief encounters, things that seem minor at the time, can leave a real mark. Maybe subtly change how we see things going forward.
And it speaks volumes, I think, about looking beyond the big narratives, the official reports sometimes, maybe the most interesting insights into how people tick, how society actually works on the ground level. Maybe they come from these unassuming personal stories, those quiet reflections on moments that seemed ordinary but turned out to be anything but.
Definitely something to chew on there. Thanks for digging into this one with me. It's amazing how much you can pull from one person's slightly strange memory from decades ago.
It really is a fascinating little story.